Yeah, good evening everyone. Kamusta po kayo now? I hope na naging maganda yung week natin up until now. Uh, Recently, nagkakaroon po ng news about a coming typhoon. I think it's gonna be a rainy night tonight up until the weekend. Last week, when I've heard of the news, my prediction regarding sa trajectory ng typhoon na dediretso daw sa Philippines and naging super typhoon pa siya on the way. But I think recently, nagkaroon ng news na it's starting to head north and hindi na daw pupunta ng Philippines. So I guess medyo safe na tayo from the typhoon. But there are still locations sa Philippines na nagsisignal number one. So I guess yung topic natin today, as you may have guessed, is related to typhoons. Well, storms to be more exact, both literally and figuratively. So I kind of wanted to relate this issue to how, despite the scary news about upcoming typhoons in the Philippines, especially na malapit na yung typhoon season natin sa atin, that we should continue to find refuge in the Lord. So, yung first verse natin is makikita sa Matthew 8, 23 to 27. So, basahin ko lang. Um, Verse 23. Then he got into the boat and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a furious storm came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, Lord, save us, we're going to drown. He replied, You of little faith, why are you so afraid? Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. So, this is the story about how Jesus was performing miracles across um, cities or towns, performing miracles, curing the sick. Marami siyang na-heal na may sickness or disease. And kasama niya yung mga disciples moving from one place to another. And ito yung time na need nila na mag-cross sa Sea of Galilee, but they witnessed a storm. At this time, Jesus was taking a rest, sleeping, but with their worries, they had no choice but to wake him up from his slumber. And simply enough, Jesus only needed to say the word, and then the storm stopped. Ito yung siguro a prime example of how we should be trusting Jesus a lot more in times of trials and tribulations, which was actually more interesting because ito yung time na yung mga disciples is makikita nila physically yung mga miracles na pinaperform ni Jesus with their own eyes. And they still had this sense of worry despite Jesus being with them on the boat. So I guess we can all relate here na it is very easy to say, but it is hard to do na, mag-rely completely sa Lord. So this is one of the things that we as Christians should be actively working on. Now, I want us all to think in the same sense about how we too have storms inside of us and sometimes other people. How sometimes the storms are not visible, and we need to look deeper into the other people to see these storms. So in this next verse, it kind of relates to how the disciples have also still not placed their full faith unto the Lord. But I guess in this verse, it makes sense that they would be worried because this is the time in the Bible when Jesus would be arrested and then the disciples would be left to their own devices. So in John chapter 16, verses 31 to 33, do you now believe? Jesus replied, A time is coming, and in fact has come, when you will be scattered, each to your own home. You will leave me all alone, yet I am not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So I want us all to take a look at verse 33, where it was mentioned how Jesus comforted the disciples, knowing that they will be in a state of internal turmoil, chaos, and confusion. Their lives would literally change, knowing that Jesus would be gone from their sides. Although short and very brief lang yung pagkasabi niya dito, him saying, "So that in me you may have peace, along with I have overcome the world." What greater reassurance could you ask at this point in time? Now, this might be a bit of a stretch, but as Christians in this mortal world, we have a job to do. I think we're all aware. Aside from our calling, our ministries, one simple ask from the Lord was to simply follow in his footsteps, to do what he says, to do what he has done. Maybe he's not asking us to stop a typhoon, which I understand is kind of crazy to think about, but maybe he's talking about a different kind of storm. Um, Perhaps the one that I mentioned earlier, that the storms inside people. Now, I think at this point in time, um, it is already safe to mention, but there was this issue that popped up recently that's related to one of our sister churches. I'm sure you're already aware of what I'm speaking about. It involved a physical altercation between a clergy person and a homeless woman. I believe there's an investigation currently ongoing. But looking at it as a whole, I believe there is a lesson to be had here. That we Christians, members of the United Methodist Church, members of the ministry, I guess, should know firsthand the love, kindness, and compassion that the Lord had all throughout the Bible. People we encounter can go through, storms, and will always go through storms in their lives, especially those who may be less fortunate than we are. And maybe these are the kind of storms that we can stop. Um, we can stop. Maybe, a little bit of compassion for our fellow neighbors could go a long way. So I have this, to end it all, I have this final verse to sort of encapsulate this whole message. Um, that is in Colossians chapter 3, verse 12. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. I made this jump from physical storms to internal storms. And I pray that, you know, um, we all find within ourselves these qualities and then act upon them. Maybe all find peace and, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, um, when facing people from different areas in our lives, not just fellow church members or clergy people. And yeah, I pray that we will all continue to believe in the Lord, find refuge in Him. And yeah, that is all from me. Thank you all. Good night.